I'm going to go next, and I want to discuss this new teenage TikTok terror that's in town. It's gone from Mizzy to someone called Musa Raza, the teenage TikTok provocateur with a penchant for pushing the boundaries and testing the patience of everybody and the authority. From Buckingham Palace to number 10 Downing Street, he's been making a name for himself by being a prankster. Have a watch of this.
I don't know his name.
Look, we've got a real problem on our hands. These kids wanting to actually go viral on TikTok and other apps to actually get the price of fame. I wonder, how do we actually ensure that these kids think the price of fame, of achieving that viral sensation, is actually higher than they're willing to pay? You've got kids, Ben Leo. Are you worried that your little ones are going to be trying to get TikTok fame by shoving a police horse or whatever it is, a guard, a member of the King's Guard?
I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I'd like to think that they would never get to that point because I've brought them up properly. I blame... The sole blame is on the parents, because these are the people that nurture and look after these children from a young age. They spend the most amount of time with them, and they are a product of their environment, and it's the parents' fault, I'm afraid.
But do you not think by the time you're as old as that person, teenager,
19,
that 19, so an adult, that you are responsible for your own actions, and actually you can have the best upbringing in the world, and there are still people that mess up.
That kid is completely responsible for his actions, yes, but he's been brought up in the years prior by parents who probably didn't discipline him properly, didn't say no to him. If that was my kid, if that was Jude when he becomes 15, 16, he'd get a clip round the ear and he wouldn't hear the end of it. Yeah, I'd like to think, maybe I'll eat my words in 10, 15 years, but I'd like to think that my kids would never get to that point, because hopefully I've done a good enough job.
You're younger. How old are you again?
24.
You're 24, so you're younger than everyone here by some margin.
I'm 18 next week.
But I wonder, do you recognise that this is a problem? Is this a generational thing, do you think, this sort of desire for likes and follows?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, TikTok came about in the years just before lockdown, and I think everyone being at home and looking for that entertainment on their phone, it blew up.
Yeah.
And there are so many teenagers who will just do anything. I mean, Mizzy was terrible.
Yes.
He's been...
Apparently he's totally changed now. He's a changed man. And if that is the case, I wish him well. But how do we make these kids...
But do you know what? It's another part of living in London. If you choose to live in a hellhole like London, you're choosing for your children to be brought up... Let me finish my point, please. You're choosing for your children to be brought up with riffraff like this kid.
But there are
the only riffraff on this panel, Ben Leo, is you. Children across the country do things to play up to cameras and and try and do things which are bad. And actually, one thing I will say is the police handled that little rascal in exactly the right way. And that's
about time as well.
We need tough policing. This isn't just something which happens in London. So don't just paint this as a London problem. This happens down on the South Coast too. It happens up in Durham. It happens all across the United States.
Not really. There's a bigger congregation of scallywags in London than there is elsewhere. It's a culture thing.
I've never seen this in Durham, to be honest.
No. Exactly, there you go.
Benjamin, you like London. Is it a problem?
No, I don't think this is... I really don't think this is a geographical problem at all. But I think there is a real problem here because, you know, you might get examples of alleged criminality, which are clearly the most serious end of it. But I think what you've got with the internet, with TikTok, with YouTube, is a sort of subverting of social norms being monetised.
Yes.
So there is serious money to be made from this. It is a proper career. It's a lot better paid than many traditional careers if you're good at it. And you see so many examples where people go up to, you know, strangers in a supermarket or in the street and say something crazy, or they ask what we would consider inappropriate questions, you know, maybe something about someone's romantic life, like an old person. You see so many examples of what is just poor, incredibly poor way to behave.
Well, it was more serious than that with the Mizzy, though, because he was... dogs, he was walking into people's homes...
Exactly, and that's the extreme end. But I think I think these social media platforms are turning social norms upside down because there's a profit in it, and I think that's quite risky.
anyone remember happy slapping as a phenomenon?
Yes.
How did we actually get rid of that? Because I don't hear about that
I think it just fizzled
anymore.
out. But I just wonder how much of this we're just seeing more of because of social media versus people used to play pranks, you know, throughout history, and actually this is just something which young people have always done, but now we see it because of social media.
That's the point I'm making. Like, kids have always been silly or inappropriate, right? But they would get a clip round the ear or whatever. It wouldn't benefit them.
And also,
but now you have a situation where you can behave like that, and it benefits you. It makes you money. And I think that's why it's dangerous.
But that goes back to the parenting. A, you're letting kids access social media from a young age where they're desperate to get their hands on it. And B, you're not teaching them that money isn't the be-all and end-all.
Fleur, do you agree that actually there should be age limits on these things, that actually you shouldn't be able to access smartphones even until you're a certain age? What's the Miriam, Kate? 16?
16,
yeah. Well, I mean, as a parent, I would definitely attempt to put those limits on for my kids, but I think making it illegal is pointless because I was on Twitter at 10 to tweet about Justin Bieber and how much I loved him. But obviously...
She still does today.
I still do.
We all do. Fleur, we all do.
And I just think kids can bypass these things so easily. I mean, vapes were meant to just be for over 18s.
That's
and
true.
You've got... There was a story that there's 4-year-olds in hospital with lung problems. So I don't really see much point in putting legislation.
Again, that's the parents' fault.
So this is a societal issue, isn't it? This is poor parenting. This is a lack of people taking personal responsibility for their offspring being complete terrors. I was going to say something else there, but I don't think Ofcom would like that. And, you know, there is a whole host of issues that we've got that are getting way worse. I mean, Albie, you've spoken very eloquently in the past about the way in which a sort of hands-off approach to parenting is responsible in large parts for the sort of knife crime epidemic that we're seeing. They're all linked,
I think they are all linked. I think they are all linked. I do think a lot of society's ills nowadays can be put at the foot of poor parenting. And I just worry that we've got to a point where we're too scared to say too many people are bad parents.
Okie doke. Right, we're going to have to leave that one there.